Hi, my name is Moss, and I'm making a boss rush game where you're playing as a duck saving the world from an alien invasion. But this isn't actually what the game used to look like. It used to be a Metroidvania full of exploration. That's because 5 months ago, I decided to completely rework the game mechanics and lean into one of my strengths, monster design. Now, one of the biggest challenges I faced early on was that creating bosses was an absolute nightmare. Previously, everything was done manually and by hand, and there was no good way to reuse the code, and nothing would work from one creature to another. I'd spend weeks on a single boss, just trying to get that basic system working, let alone making it actually fun to fight. So I made a decision that would either save my project or completely destroy it. I spent months working on a modular code system that helps me reduce the time it takes to write a full boss script. The idea was simple. Whenever I want to bring a boss to the game, I can just worry about the design and the movesets. No more wrestling with how it interacts in the environment. Here's the thing. One of my biggest issues starting this project was having enemies glitch out and have so many problems transitioning from one state to another. And picture this, you're fighting a boss, but suddenly it just freezes. Or worse, it starts doing 3 different attacks all at once, and it crashes the game. This took me months to iron out, and I'm not gonna lie, there were days where I just seriously considered giving up. But when I finally got it working, I had the blueprint to replicate it as many times as I wanted. And the best part? I'm using macros to identify the boss states, which helps me track everything I have on the screen. And it was a lot of boring work, but trust me, when you're juggling health bars and attack timers and having multiple bosses, organization becomes your best friend. And that being said, we can't have a boss rush game without bosses. So let's talk about my next boss. This one is a little different. I wanted the boss to bring a real challenge and make a good use of the game mechanics. Also, different bosses have good synergies with different weapons that Duck Norris holds. And that way you can experiment and test out different loadouts to find the right combination for each encounter. Now I decided to switch it up a little bit and create a boss that's a similar height to Duck Norris. All the previous bosses were at least 3 times the size or more. So I wanted to bring a different flavor and create something unique. Sometimes the scariest enemies aren't the biggest ones. So I went to my sketchbook and started scribbling some ideas. These looked super rough, but it was enough to get me going and start the process. My idea was simple. I wanted it to be small and fierce, like a baby Godzilla, but nimble like a ninja. So I was inclined to give it an atomic breath attack and a diving move. So I got started right away, creating a few animations to get the creative juices flowing. First, I wanted to tackle the atomic breath. And this is supposed to be very simple, right? Wrong. It gave me such a tough time. You see, the only effects I've done in the past were 2 previous attacks, and they heavily relied on art and just creating the sprite from scratch. So they were heavily stylized and took away too much space on my texture sheets. But this time, I wanted to be able to create effects like these, solely relying on the engine. So I started diving into it, compounding layers on each other to make it work. And I stumbled onto this. And this looked super intense, so I had to dial it down a little bit, and now it looks way better. But when I tested it out, it looked like you need the reaction time of a pro StarCraft player just dodging it. So I added this pre-beam indicator to give you time to anticipate the attack. And it's just like a little warning that you're gonna get roasted. So next I wanted to work on the jump attack. Now I had the jump attack done on another boss, but this one needed to be a little different. The idea was the boss would leap high in the air, suspend for a brief moment like it's gathering energy, then dive directly onto the player and inflict serious pain. But to make it more menacing, I decided it would actually destroy the floor when it dives, potentially damaging the player even if they dodge the initial impact. So I played around with some effects and I settled on this one. I might change it in the future when I finish designing the level, but this is how it looks so far. Now moving on, for the third attack, I made a simple script that detects if the player is getting too close, then the boss would slam the ground to punish overconfident players. It was actually something I discovered by accident while testing, but it fits exactly what I wanted to create for the boss. Next, there is no good bosses without second phases, so I started working on that right away. And I drew this concept art just to test out how it would look like. And it just grew on me. So I decided to keep it and build on it. And I wanted to give this attack two distinct variations to keep the players on their toes. Look, we already established that jump attacks are scary, because they're very sporadic and very fast. But what if the boss could spawn babies that imitate their mom? Well, that's exactly what I implemented. Meet blobs. The blobs grew up watching mommy jump and stomp. And that's exactly what they want to do when they grow up. So they jump and dive just like mommy. But they're not strong enough to break the ground yet. And it's actually kind of adorable in a terrifying way. So I needed to add that to the logic, so that when the atomic beam reaches the floor, an egg spawns and a new life begins. The second phase attack was trickier to balance. While we have the offspring jumping around everywhere, I didn't want to keep creating more and more of them because that would be just overwhelming. Instead, the boss hovers in the air, completely vulnerable, and shoots a massive beam that covers about a third of a screen. And I found this creates a nice risk-reward scenario. Huge damage potential, but also the boss is charging up and completely vulnerable. And now that I have all of these moves coded in, let's give it a test drive. And this was awesome. I think this was one of the best bosses I've ever created. So here's my question for you. What's your favorite boss you've ever encountered in a video game? Was it in the mechanics, design, or story significance? And I'm always looking for inspirations, and I'd love to hear what makes a boss fight memorable for you. So drop me a comment below and let me know. I read every single one. And don't forget to wishlist the game on Steam. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far and you're interested in optimizing things and becoming better, I've created a new Discord server for like-minded people who wants to take this journey to the next level, and you can find it in the links below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like and a comment. It will really help me with the algorithm and help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this video, you'll enjoy this video as well. Thank you so much, and remember, just take it one day at a time, and I'll see you in the next video.